Hey everybody, this month's book is Cosmos by Carl Sagan. Unquestionably the most famous, recognized, well-known book that I think I've covered so far on this show. So much so that I keep pushing this one off from bothering to bring it up because I almost feel like, who doesn't know about this book? But to tell you the truth, I actually didn't know about it until it was gifted to me. I mentioned this in one of the episodes of Bud, Suds, and Duds when Rob and I were playing the game Nailed, where I had this like space summer that was just hitting me. I was watching Star Trek The Next Generation for the first time. I was playing Mass Effect for the first time, the whole trilogy. And then Netflix, I believe, was doing this Cosmos show with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I couldn't stop talking about it to some people, including one of my friends, Mary, who said, hey, I've got the book that was the companion to this same show when it was done by Carl Sagan. It made the tetrarchy of my space summer just larger. We just went up to 4 instead of being at 3. And man, was that nothing but space in my head, kid. You know what I mean? So I guess my point is that there might be some people who are interested in this that just haven't seen it. Right off the bat, I should tell you that this book can be somewhat weirdly frightening to look at. It's not so much that it's a very large book. It's not a super thick beast, but it's more of, you open up the pages, you look, you've got tons of pictures, but also tons of words. And from what I understand, the paperback version of this has like the world's tiniest font. And it just seems like this is gonna be a lot. But what I love so much about this book is that it's this educating conversational style by somebody who is unquestionably an expert that also comes off not as preachy, not as static droning language, and is more of a conversation. You feel like you needled Carl himself to talk about these subjects because you wanted to hear his thoughts, and he took the bait. And that's actually a pretty great feeling to get from anything. I was not going to get too deep into the book because it is so well known, but I did want to say what one of my favorite sections of the book is. My favorite chapter is actually the one all about Venus. When it comes to talking about planets in our own solar system, I feel like the conversation is always, of course, Earth, and then, of course, Mars. After that, it's Jupiter because it's massive, and it's Uranus because it's funny. Then, of course, after this book came out, for a little while there, it was Pluto, because some people apparently invested their entire hopes and dreams in Pluto being a planet and not a dwarf planet. I'll still never understand the anger around that one. But Venus just doesn't seem to get talked about as much. It's still not talked about as little as Mercury and Neptune, but still, it's something. In just the way that what life would be like, not necessarily for a human, but what kind of traits would life on Venus have based on the type of planet that it is, I thought was fascinatingly proposed by Sagan. And it's nice too, especially because of when I was reading this, I was getting all of these different alien creatures, but for the most part, so many of them are the same category. Usually humanoid, maybe they're insectoid, maybe they're reptilian. It was so nice to hear this thought process of somebody who has spent a lot of time on it, saying maybe this is how life would exist on Venus and look nothing like ours. I did try to do my due diligence regarding what kind of complaints are out there about this book. And the complaints, the criticisms are a little strange to measure. Some people don't like the conversational style. Some people bought this book to learn, and while you can, and maybe they did, I think a lot of people came into this expecting it to be more lecture-like. And then there were a lot of people who don't want to consider that some things might be billions and billions of years old. And they want to think that the time frame is biblically shorter. We'll just put it that way. So there wasn't really much to talk about or turn away from that. It was a companion piece to the Cosmos show that Carl Sagan originally did. I never saw that miniseries, just the one much more recent in time with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And by much more recent, I don't know, that was like 10 years ago, maybe? Maybe more? I'm not really sure. But I haven't read it in a while. This was put out in 1980. I'm sure that there are things that have been learned better since. Maybe we have some more information that just wasn't available to us at the time. So it's worth keeping in mind it's not going to be the most up-to-date thing unless if there are later issues of it that you might want to check out. I'm not familiar of them, if there are. And it's always nice to dream of space because we still are stuck here in our cosmological address that is the pale blue dot. I will see you guys next month.